Well, howdy do. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about emergencies, food, specifically the lack thereof, and what you can do to make sure you've got plenty of it. I want to hit on some long-term food solutions, but also, and those are for emergencies, but also for, in case you're trying to stay ahead of this record-breaking inflation. Because if you haven't noticed, the world's gone kind of crazy over the last couple of years, and especially right now. So we've learned over the last couple of years that a kink in the supply chain can mean empty shelves in the grocery stores, and it can happen really fast. If you are completely reliant on the system working, you can run into problems really quick. It's just one of those things that most people don't think about until it's too late. Kim and I started to realize we wanted to be more prepared, luckily, before everything started going downhill. Now, most experts say, and let me just say I'm not an expert, but most experts say that you should have a 3-month supply. This dog. A 3-month supply of food and water at all times. Now, the easiest way to do that is to just start buying a little more than you need every time you go to the grocery store. A lot of people are like, well, how can I buy a 3-month supply of food right off the bat? And that's not what you have to do. Just every time you go to the grocery store, buy a little bit more than you normally would buy. And that way you don't have to put a lot of money out at one time. You should focus on foods that store well and last a long time. Dry foods, canned goods, pasta, stuff like that. You can also buy bottled water, or you can buy containers and fill them yourself. Make sure you rotate your supplies though, so you make sure your emergency supply doesn't go out of date. You don't want to just put all your food in and always pull from the front. Now, one thing that we started doing a few years ago was buying bulk beef from a local grass-fed cow farm. We do this for a few reasons. Number one, grass-fed beef is far better for you to eat. It's healthier and it's safer from E. coli. I got food poisoning from a restaurant about 20 years ago. It was quite miserable. I was sick for about 3 weeks, and I mean, literally it's the sickest I've ever been. So ever since then, whenever I eat something and it tastes just even slightly funny, I don't finish it. The second reason why we buy this beef is because it tastes better. There are few things that taste better than a grass-fed burger on the grill, okay? I'm just telling you, it's amazing. Thirdly, we get to support a small family-owned business, and that's pretty awesome. And it's local, so why not? Fourthly, we stay ahead of rising prices at the grocery store. So I know everybody can't buy 200 pounds of hamburger meat or beef at one time. So what I do is I keep an eye out for when they have a sale, and that's when I strike. We have a pretty big family, so we have to buy a bunch of beef anyway. But by doing it this way, I only have to buy beef once a year. I highly suggest you buy grass-fed beef for your health and taste buds. But it does cost more, or it can cost more, and that's why I wait until it goes on sale. So I pay pretty much the same as corn-fed beef. Now, you could always buy extra meat at the grocery store when it goes on sale too, but good luck with that because I rarely see beef on sale at our local grocery store anymore. One interesting thing is that while the food prices have gone crazy at the grocery store over the last year, but the local cattle farmer, their prices are basically the same price they were 2 years ago. Between beef and some good old deer meat, we're set for almost a year. Some people don't like deer meat, but if you cook it in stuff like spaghetti, it pretty much tastes like beef. If you don't already, I suggest you learn how to hunt or learn how to make friends with people who hunt. Or fish. That's another great way to have food. Now, having a bunch of meat in the freezer is great, but it does have one huge vulnerability. More on that later. One really good idea is if you're gonna have a bunch of your meat stored in a freezer, is this little alarm system that I ordered off Amazon. I don't know what this thing was, 10 or 20 bucks. Every once in a while, the girls would get a popsicle out of here and not shove the freezer door shut all the way. So this alarms whenever it's been open for like more than 5 or 10 minutes. Definitely a worthwhile purchase. Let's talk about chickens. Chickens are awesome. But chickens can be dangerous. Yep, it's true. Once you've had a few, it's easy to contract chicken fever. The main symptom, of course, of chicken fever is the constant need to buy more chickens. Chickens are super easy to take care of, and if you think you don't have enough space for a chicken, you might be wrong. You might be surprised, in fact, to find that a lot of people have backyard chickens. all over the place. Check your local laws if you're thinking about that, or don't. We have 6 chickens, one of which unfortunately is a rooster. And he's a pain. That means we get 5 eggs almost every day. That adds up fast. In fact, it adds up so fast we have to figure out what we're gonna do with all the eggs. More on that later. Now, we're gonna get more chickens eventually, but right now we have a black market connection to our chicken needs, and that is because my sister has gone full on crazy chicken lady. In fact, last time I checked, she has about 50 chickens. We let our chickens free range, and that means we have to buy even less feed for them. Now, you don't need acres to let them free range. I see a lot of people that just kind of let them wander around in their backyard, okay? We also use wood chips for bedding, and that means we have 0 chicken smell. It never smells like chickens out here. Now, you could, of course, eat your chickens, but why would you do that when they make food for you every day? I mean, I wouldn't harvest a cow, I wouldn't harvest a cow if it laid a cow patty every day. Wait, start a garden. You don't have to have a big garden. Just start with what you can. You can start a small garden in your backyard, or maybe a raised bed to make it a little easier. If you live in an apartment, you can start an herb garden in your window. If you do have more room, you might want to try growing foods that store for a long time. These sand gnats are insane. Like different types of squash can last months or maybe even a year if stored properly after harvesting. You think about how many meals you could make with pumpkin or butternut squash. I guess eventually you could get sick of it, but it just makes a perfect type of vegetable to store for a long time. Butternut squash is like super expensive at the store. I just ate a gnat. So why not grow a ton of it and store it when, you know, it just costs like pennies per squash to grow from seed. Some vegetables you can leave in the ground a little bit longer and harvest them as needed as well. Now everybody knows that a great way to store food long term is canning. You can store fruits, vegetables, and meat this way. I don't know a ton about canning, but we've gotten everything we need to get started. Like my sister does canning, but we're gonna start learning more and start doing more. But since I don't really know a lot about this, I'm not gonna talk a whole lot about this. Let's talk about forever food. Yeah, let's talk about honey. Okay, we actually buy honey. We love honey. We buy honey by the gallon, and we buy it by the jar, and we buy it by the squeeze thingamajigger bobber thing because we just love honey, and we'll actually transfer it out of this gallon thing. We have friends that are beekeepers, some neighbors, but we really want to get into doing it ourselves. I mean, they actually found honey in the pyramids that was still good to eat. So it's kind of an amazing, it's just an amazing thing. Natural, totally natural. But anyway, what I really want to talk about is wheat. Specifically, wheat berries. This is old school, as in biblical. I'm not going to go into the health benefits of wheat berries and why you should grind your own wheat. I have Kim here for that.
Hey. So what's really cool about wheat berries is they last forever in this form. Now when you grind it down, of course, it only lasts a few days. Whereas if you go to the supermarket and load up on that flour, it's really not good for you and it really doesn't keep. You'll get bugs in it and so forth. And that's a whole nother topic. But wheat berries actually contain 40 of the 44 nutrients that your body needs to survive. So if you pair this with, say, beans or rice or something, you're good. You're going to survive. This is just kind of one of those survival foods that's good to have on hand. And the ones that you really need to start out with is a hard wheat and a soft wheat. So
wait. Don't spill all the beans. Well, we're talking about beans and wheat.
Wheat berries, not
I know, but don't spill all the beans. You give them all the information. See, Here's the thing. Kim has her own channel now. So I will put a link right there, I think is where it'll be. I'll put a link to her channel where I'll put a link to her channel where she's gonna go over all this stuff for you, explain it out real good for you. I'll put links to her video and you should go check out her channel. I'll also put it in the description. But yeah, I mean, there's actually like tons of health benefits. I mean, we have some friends that had some health problems, or children had health problems, and they started baking their bread and grinding their own wheat, and like those health problems went away.
Yeah,
so
it's really amazing. And a note on the honey real quick. Honey is obviously a natural sugar. So and if the sugar, if you can't find like granule sugar anytime soon, or it's out of stock, honey, is awesome because you can substitute honey. So that's just another thing. If you have bees, or if you are stocked up on honey like we are, you can use it in your baking instead of the granulized sugar.
Sugar ain't no good for you anywho.
Well, the raw sugar is. It's better than the white sugar.
Better,
white
but
sugar.
it ain't no good. Sugar ain't no good for you. Real quick, what do we have here though? We got hard red, hard white, soft white, and spelt. And which ones did you say they need to get first?
You didn't tell me to.
Oh, tell them quickly.
I was cut off.
Tell them quickly. Hurry.
Okay, so hard white or red, doesn't matter which one, and then soft white. And those are the 2 or 3 that you really need to start out with.
But Kim's got her video that is out right now. She goes over that, and she goes over like some storage solutions for it, and how you can keep it from going bad, so that you do have it forever. Did you talk in your video about what you could do is if you didn't want to make bread with it?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Check it out.
Ooh, very cool. You don't have to bake with it, but anyway, check out Kim's video to see that. And the cool thing about Kim's channel too is like you're kind of chronicling our journey towards eating healthier and better foods, like getting trying to get off of processed foods.
That was my first video to to put it in order.
To chronicle.
Watch the chronicle.
Chronicles of
Kim.
HAXMAN and Kim. Okay, if all of the previous ideas sound like too much of a hassle, have I got a plan for you. Behold, the ultimate emergency food and prepper tool. This is a freeze dryer. Now this is made by Harvest Right, and it is amazing. Just so you know, we bought this and we paid full price for it. We've had it, I think, just had about a year. And don't confuse this with a dehydrator. A dehydrator removes about 70% of water from food, and dehydrated food lasts for about 4 years. Freeze dryers remove 99% of water from food, and the food can last for 25 to 30 or more years. Now, you can freeze dry pretty much any food. It doesn't work well like bacon or greasy foods like that though. We have put all kinds of stuff in here, and what makes it so awesome is, I talked about having freezers with meat in them earlier, but if we lose power, then that stuff is toast, okay? It's gone, no mas. Once you freeze dry the food and seal it in these Mylar bags, or there's other options, you can store it and pretty much forget about it until you need it. It doesn't require power to keep good. You don't need climate control. And keep good, it does, friends. When you freeze dry food and rehydrate it, it pretty much tastes just like it did when you dried it. You can freeze dry meat raw or cooked, which is kind of crazy. It works either way. One of my favorite things to do, let me set these down, is freeze dry fruit. You don't have to rehydrate them, of course. Freeze dried bananas, strawberries, pineapples, they make amazing snacks because you don't rehydrate them. And it almost strengthens the taste of it. We thought when we got the dryer that we needed to prepare meals specifically for freeze drying. And we found out, well, first off, we did that for a while, but then we found out that that was extremely time intensive and a pain. So the secret to using one of these effectively is freeze drying your leftovers. Like I said, we thought we needed to prepare a meal for like 10 people, but in an emergency, everybody can eat something different. Who cares if everybody has the same thing? When it comes time to eat, you still don't need power. It's nice to have access to water and some heat source like a fire. If you're gonna, like some of these things that I have here, like chili and stuff. But in an emergency, you could just eat it straight out of the bag. You'd be really full because it would expand once it got into your belly, so you'd have to control that. Get low. All right. We have also found another really useful aspect of the freeze dryer, and that is storing all of these eggs that we have from the chickens. Let's go back to the past. We just crack all our excess eggs, beat them together, pour them into the pans, and put them in the freeze dryer. Here we are just a few short days earlier, okay? So the eggs have finished their freeze drying process, and as you see here, it says open the drain valve to vent. When you do that, you need to make sure that your hose is not in the bucket. There's a bucket down here below that the drain hose is going into. I'm now gonna open the valve to vent. And you'll see this seal, you kind of see it starts to lose that seal right there. All right. And if you haven't opened the, actually I can go ahead and put, I don't want it to defrost. All right, now you can actually hear me. Take this out. Is it? No, okay, you never know. I'm never sure, is it gonna be cold? Is it gonna be hot? So they're kind of warm right now, actually. Mmm. Eggs, huh? Looks good, huh? Right? Come on. Come check this out and see how this looks. This is kind of pretty crazy, actually. Looks like crystals almost. This ended up being kind of on the top. Crumbly. It's just very... well, very dry. I guess would be the word. All right, let me show you what we do then. And there's a couple different things you can do. I've seen people do it different ways. I've seen them do this on Living Traditions Homestead YouTube channel. And she takes it all out of here, puts it in a blender, and grinds it up into a powder, but we don't really bother with that. What we do is, actually I'm gonna take one of these Mylar bags and get it ready. Mylar bag is now ready. The next thing I need is some of these oxygen absorbers. Actually, before I do that though, I'm gonna go ahead and get the, what is this called? The sealing press?
Sure.
I guess that's what I'll call it. The heat sealer ready. And this has different settings. So when you're sealing the Mylar bag, you set it to 7. When you're sealing just one of these thin plastic bags, you set it to 4. I'm gonna go ahead and set it to 4 because as soon as I take these out, I wanna seal it back up really quick. You see that light goes off when it's ready. That's all sealed up, ready to save. Each one of these trays has 20 eggs on it. I'm kind of tempted to just, so Kim normally does this, so we'll see how efficient I am at this. They come up real easy though. I can see the benefit of putting these like in a blender because then you've just got straight up powder. Where I'm putting these in, I've got flakes. But of course you can just put them in the Mylar bag and just kind of scrunch them. All right, I'm gonna put my oxygen absorber in here. You can kind of see in there. All right, and now I'm gonna seal it. Put a little bit of this into just a Ziploc bag because when we go back to the future, I'll reconstitute these eggs. That doesn't really sound very delicious when you say reconstitute. It sounds like something you take a pill for. But anyway, I'm gonna put this oxygen absorber packet in here and just seal this up. And then in a couple days, I'll cook me up some eggs for the rest of the video. Now you can just write your contents on there, write how many eggs are in here, your date, and then you're good to go for, 30 years. Who wants to reconstitute some eggs? Reconstitute, that word sounds funny. It's like, why, Clement, you don't look well today. Are you feeling under the weather? Why, thank you. Yes, I am. In fact, I believe I may be reconstituted. Now that we got some egg powder, I did look up and see on Living Traditions Homestead what they figured out, and basically it was just a 1-to-1 ratio of egg powder to water to reconstitute your eggs. Specifically, what they said was that 2 tablespoons of egg powder equaled 1 egg, this dog, and 2 tablespoons of water together. Let's go to the frying pan. I might have been a tad heavy on the butter. But then again, butter does make it better. Oh man, you know what? You know what this tastes like? Is that right on the tip of my tongue? Oh, egg. Tastes just like egg. You can't even tell the difference. I mean, that tastes just like I cracked that egg and scrambled it in a pan. So these come in different sizes, but I wouldn't recommend getting the small. This is the medium. And there's also a large, but the large requires its own, I think, dedicated 20 amp circuit. So the medium is the Goldilocks of the three sizes, okay? Whenever we got ours, we got the premium pump. We upgraded to the premium pump. And what makes this pump really cool is that it is, number one, it's really quiet. It's probably about as loud as your dishwasher. We have this in we sleep just down the hall from this with our door open, and my ears are really sensitive and it doesn't bother me at all. I'm able to get to sleep really easily. I do have an affiliate link to Harvest Right. If you're interested in one of these and you want to help out the channel, it doesn't cost you any more, but we get a few pennies on the dollar. And I think they're actually on sale right now when I looked at it the other day. Oh, and the other cool thing is, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but we got the Premier pump with ours, and the Premier pump is what is included with it now. So, bonus. If you feel a little overwhelmed about getting started, remember to just start small. You can eat an elephant one bite at a time. There are obviously lots of other ways for long-term food storage, but I hope you found this useful. Don't forget to check out Kim's channel, and remember, nothing happening right now is by accident. See ya.